watching the Mystical Green Beanie.
Hey, what's going on, dudes and dudettes? I am the Mystical Green Beanie, and I am back, and I'm talking about Spider-Man because why on earth would I talk about anything else? Seriously, the only reason this isn't a Spider-Man exclusive channel is because Evan Falarka and Caboose XBL and like 2 other guys already have that corner of the internet locked down. Anyways, welcome to my review for the first issue of Nick Spencer and Ryan Ottley's Amazing Spider-Man. Now, look, I was just about as excited as I was nervous going into this book. And by nervous, what I really mean is I was dreading this comic. Because I read the previews for this issue and I was not impressed. In fact, I was audibly groaning reading the previews for this. I was just not on board at all. From the concept of Peter living with Randy Robertson as a roommate like he did in the late 90s, to the way the other heroes reacted to Spider-Man as though he were Deadpool, I just wasn't feeling it. Plus, I wasn't liking the idea of Ryan Ottley being on the book. Personally, I feel like he was more suited for a book like Champions or one of the 5 billion X-Men titles that's running currently, especially after looking at his work on Invincible. But yeah, needless to say, I wasn't looking forward to this run. But then the first issue drops, and I read it. And by the time I got to the last page, I found myself smiling from ear to ear like an idiot in public, because this was the most I have enjoyed the main Spider-Man title in a long time. So the issue takes place after the Free Comic Book Day issue, where after the events of Dan Slott's run, Peter moves in with Randy Robertson and the Boomerang, who's a reformed supervillain. And Peter's still working under the status quo that Dan Slott left him under, where he works at the Daily Bugle as an editor and whatnot. However, this all comes crashing down around him when he goes to present one of his papers to the alumni of Empire State University, and the college is using this really high-tech anti-plagiarism algorithm that utilizes Cerebro technology, which I really like because, as I said before, stuff like this should be not necessarily commonplace, but it should exist in a universe where superheroes exist. Because what we perceive as super science in the real world would just be seen as regular science in the Marvel Universe. But I digress. Anyways, the anti-plagiarism software detects that Peter Parker's work was in fact done by Otto Octavius, which is not only a great callback, but really serves as a great consequence for the events of Superior Spider-Man. And of course, this causes Peter to lose his editing position at the Daily Bugle and lose the respect of his peers, and it causes Aunt May to flip out on him in a really well-handled moment where she just lays on how disappointed she is. And Peter can't really do anything because he can't reveal to Aunt May that he's Spider-Man, which I don't want to harp on too bad because this is more of an issue that I have with editorial than Nick Spencer, but this really did make me miss the old status quo that we had with JMS, where Aunt May knew that Peter was Spider-Man and could actually do something or attempt to do something to help. But again, that's an editorial and status quo issue more so than anything else. But Peter is given a second chance here to redeem his status by Kurt Connors, who is trapped in the Lizard's body due to the events of No Turning Back. And I think that could potentially lead to some interesting story material. Meanwhile, his career as Spider-Man sucks, because everyone in the superhero community all of a sudden hates Spider-Man, which is something that I just didn't like when reading the previews because it felt like Nick Spencer was going for the LOL, everybody hates Spider-Man gag, but that's not what that is, like, at all. Because in context with the story, the other heroes of the Marvel Universe hate Spider-Man because A, he's the only hero who not only hasn't been targeted by Wilson Fisk, who's the mayor of New York, but B, he was offered the key to the city, which he turns down in front of all of the cameras and the press and whatnot, and this causes a carefully planned schism between Spider-Man and the other heroes of New York. Now, this is where things get kinda tricky because all of the heroes of the Marvel Universe suddenly hate Spider-Man for the position that he's been put in, but you would assume that they'd understand, or at the very least, to some degree, sympathize with him, especially since he's been friends with most of these people for years. But they just kind of turn on him, and I don't fully buy that. But I'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. We also get to see Mysterio at his hearing where he represents himself, which I thought was hilarious. And I'm not sure why, or how he was allowed to wear his supervillain costume in the courtroom, but it was still pretty funny. And Nick Spencer ties in one of his characters from the Superior Foes of Spider-Man into this issue as well, because I think that's where the current Beetle comes from. And Quentin Beck has a psychological breakdown where he's visited by the guy who brought him back to life, and I'm not gonna lie, I honestly don't know how that happened. When I was rereading Dan Slott's Spider-Man material, there's a strong possibility that I skipped over that backstory. But whatever the case may be, this demon guy shows up and he puts the fear of God into Mysterio, and he lets us know as the audience that he knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. So that's really something to look forward to. And finally, the giant bombshell that we got at the end of this issue is Peter and MJ potentially getting back together. But make no mistake, I do not want to get my hopes up. Because Marvel's done this before where they tease you with the possibility that Peter and MJ might get back together, and then they take it away, just to leave you there to be sad. So I'm going to try my best not to fall for that this time, but damn if I didn't get excited seeing Peter and MJ reconnect on that last page of the main story. And if Nick Spencer is doing what I think he's doing, then I'm down. Because from the looks of it, I think we're gonna get a story where Peter is pretty much stripped of everything in exchange for MJ, which at this point would be extremely rewarding as a Spider-Man fan. As far as the art goes, Ryan Otley did the pencils with the inks done by Cliff Rathburn and colors by Laura Martin, and I gotta say, I really like this art. I mean, I'm still sticking to my guns and feeling that Ryan Otley's style just feels more suited for something like the Avengers or something like that, but he does a really good job drawing Spider-Man. Although, I will say, Mary Jane and Peter Parker just look like Samantha Eve and Mark Grayson from Invincible. That said, the action sequences were drawn very well, and Ryan Otley does some amazing splash pages in this book. Also, that flashback from the beginning of the book to one of the previous Spider-Man annuals, which I think was either Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man or Sensational Spider-Man, was really well done. I mean, continuity is a bit of a problem there because the main emotional crux of that issue was Peter and MJ's marriage, and after one more day, they never were married, so that's confusing. Regardless, the pencils and inks were great, the colors were fantastic, they were very dynamic and gave the book a lot of personality and set the tone very well. We also got some more art from Humberto Ramos, which I'm a fan of. I know some people aren't, but whatever. I like his style, especially for Spider-Man. But yeah, that was The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 1, or 802, much rather. Like I said, I really enjoyed it, although I am really high off of this right now, so I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this issue in the coming weeks, but all I can do is tell you how I feel in the moment. But what about you? Did you like this issue? Did you not like this issue? Let me know down below in the comment section. Also, if you liked this video, hit the like button, share, support the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, all you have to do is subscribe. I'm the Mystical Green Beanie. Thank you for watching, and as always, until next time, adios nachos, adios.